everybody. Welcome to Camel City Chat. I'm John McPherson, and I'm here with Mike Foster. A Mike Foster who knows the importance of 3,333 feet above sea level, which we will talk about. I'm noticing that mouse pad over there. I'm pretty proud of that. But let's talk about the other thing, and that is the Winston-Salem Street School. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Glad
I really
you're here.
appreciate you doing this.
Well, thank you.
So we got to give a shout out to a
do
couple people. One is Carol Shue, Carol Fulton Shue, who I knew as Carol Fulton,
Right.
Before she married a buddy of mine. And then the other is, you told me as we were coming in, you met your wife through one of our past guests.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Mr. Lane Newsom, fine young man.
An awesome guy.
Yeah.
An awesome guy, and just someone that I've known since I got up at Appalachian. So, all right. So you know a little bit about things. You know what's getting ready to happen. So the first question, as always, is where are you from, and how long have you been here?
Okay. I am from Winston-Salem, right here, born and bred.
So now, are you a Baptist Hospital baby or Forsyth baby?
Forsyth.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
there's some people that are still they're Baptist pre
That's
getting
right.
back into baby.
That's right.
Right. So
Yeah,
all right.
I'm old. I've been around a while. But yeah, born here in Winston. Grew up in the public school system here. Graduated from Parkland High School.
Okay.
Way
so
back
you're
when.
South Side guy.
South Side. That's
All
right.
So and of course back then, you worked at there was families Schlitz was down there, Stroh's and all that kind of stuff.
That's
I mean,
right.
yeah. So okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Fortunately, we talked a little bit about this. We had a family sporting goods business back in those days, so that's where I did most of my pre-career work.
And working in a
helping
family
out.
business is phenomenal, isn't it?
Oh, it's awesome.
Oh yeah.
We kind of look at each other funny.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I have nothing but wonderful memories.
Did your dad ever fire you?
Not to my knowledge.
You haven't worked in a family business yet. All right, we'll talk about this. All right, so you're from Winston, graduated from Parkland. Where did you choose to go for your higher education?
Well, went to Appalachian.
What a great school.
Yeah. Hence the hint.
Yeah.
It's I love Boone. My brother was several years ahead of me. Went to App. He graduated my freshman year.
Right.
And so we got to spend a little time together up there. But I love Boone. I knew it was crazy cold like no other place, but found out my freshman year it was a different kind of cold. But still, just loved it. Even when nothing was up there, we had a Hardee's and a Subway and the Bavarian Inn, and I think that was it.
And you were beer in Boone was driving to Blowing Rock.
Correct.
See, I was beer in Boone was in Boone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
back in
came
those days,
86,
it
was. But you still had to go to like the Hollies and stuff like that.
Right.
Now, my freshman year, we got 42 inches of snow on my birthday.
Nice.
So the weekend of my birthday, we got 42 inches of snow. Still went home. Had to go home.
One of my weather experiences in Boone was a 75 below wind chill one morning. That they actually canceled classes.
Yeah, they canceled classes at that point.
And that was my sophomore year when I was starting to go in some different directions. And one of the mornings that I got up to go to class, I had an 8 o'clock class and didn't find out till I got there. There was a sign on the door.
Where'd you live on campus?
Frank, which was
Frank
brand
Hall.
new back then.
Room 407. Yeah. Frank Hall, freshman year. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. A bunch of people from here, were in Frank. So it was kind of a cool thing to catch up with people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Frank Hall, and then from Frank, we went to, now everyone's been torn down, of course, went to Soul Train.
Okay.
Yes, they tore down Soul Train. And then Winkler. Yeah.
Those are some classics there.
Yeah.
For
Right.
sure.
They put you on the 10th floor of Winkler, and then they tell you, oh, by the way, just so you know, if there's a fire, get down quickly, because the fire department doesn't have a ladder to get up here. So great. That's good to know. 10th floor, yeah.
Things were different back then.
Definitely.
Just a little.
So, all right, I'm looking around and seeing some things, and I want to talk about that behind us. It looks like you like to run, and I knew that when I got here because, yeah, thanks. Appreciate that, buddy.
No.
But as I touch here, the next question we always ask people is, what's your favorite place to eat?
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
Because you're located great. So the Winston-Salem Street School is located right here on 6th Street. And so, I mean, you know, I'm sure it was great to walk over to the barbecue place.
Oh,
but
yeah.
now, of course, closed. But,
Yeah.
I mean, you've got some cool things around here. So.
Well, you know, I'm such an old downtown guy. I would name some folks or some restaurants that are no longer around that were my favorite. Roland Bennett's used to be here.
Right.
Murphy's, which is still here
yeah.
now, you know, kind of went through some reincarnation there. But and there's some good places. We're blessed. I'm thrilled. My father, who passed away back in 2014, was a downtown guy, Bocock Stroud, and then our family business. I think he would love to see what's going on downtown now with just the growth and folks living downtown. Our daughter lives downtown, which I never envisioned that. But Cugino Forno downtown, love that pizza. It's a pretty cool place to hang out now.
And who would have thought that you can get a coffee, chocolate, work out in a gym, get a beer, get a pizza while your kid rolls around in a coal pit?
Exactly.
And it's across from a beautiful park.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, and so it's. I think you're 3 or 4 years older than me, so I can say the things like, "Do you remember having to come downtown to get like shoes?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. And of course, we're going to talk about the Bocock Stroud connection and stuff, but I mean, you know, it was like that was what you did.
Oh yeah. Coming downtown was a big deal.
Right. We lived in Clemens, and I remember it would take us like a half an hour to 45 minutes to get to Haynes Mall.
Right.
Yeah, it's like now it's like it's 3 minutes away. How did that happen? But you know, I don't know. But so then the next thing is you know, you said your daughter's down here. What is your favorite thing to do around Winston-Salem?
Well, like I said, I'm a runner. I still run. I run so I can eat what I want to, and I've run a few races throughout the year. But I love running downtown.
Right.
My wife questions my sanity sometimes, just with the traffic and all. But I love that aspect of it. I think that it keeps you sharp, and you have to focus on what's going on and where you step. And but there's just a feel about downtown that's pretty cool. But yeah, I love running. That's one thing I try. And I'm not a serious runner.
How many miles you think you log a week?
20 or so a week, and that's about it. You know.
Now I see Coast Guard marathon, right? How many marathons have you done?
I've not run a marathon. I've run
5Ks
numerous half marathons.
Okay.
Coast Guard, our son is in the Coast Guard. He's now in his second year serving, and so that's why we ran it.
Tell him thank you.
I will.
Yeah, I can see his picture right here, and then your daughter's next to.
Yeah, good looking kids.
Yep, yeah.
Got that from their mom for sure.
Well, as I always tell people, my daughter gets all of her good looks from her mom because I still have all mine. So you can use that when you get home tonight.
I'll remember that.
All right, so Downhill at Dawn is a good one. It's down near Asheville. I ran that. I've run Mistletoe, and I did do one marathon, and I did Disney. Oh, and it took me 7 hours, so you can laugh, yeah. But no, I did Disney. But running is wonderful. My greatest run that I ever did in this area was I parked the car at Calvary on the morning of Book Talk, because we used to do Book Talk. I mean, not Book Talk, but Real Estate Radio.
Okay.
I ran from Calvary to the Reynolds Building and then back to WSJS Studios.
Yeah.
I did that one morning, and then I got a ride back with my co-host after we did the show. And, I mean, it's a great run.
Yeah.
Have you done the 7 summits of the West End where you go up?
I have.
All right, I ain't done that. That's crazy. So, folks, if you ever need to, you start at what is it, Sensen and run up, and then you go over and then down and then run back up it and then go over, and there's 7 places.
Kind of end over at Pilot View, and
it's
that's nonsense.
It's hell.
I try to run as flat a ground as I can these days.
Disney's always funny because it's 6 miles of it is just the most beautiful thing you've ever done. The rest of it, you're running by sewage treatment plants and all that kind of stuff. Your back scene's Disney, and it's like, oh, this is great. Yeah, wow. The most magical place on earth. All right, so you graduate from Appalachian.
Well, went to Appalachian.
Okay, right.
2 years.
Okay.
The family business that we had, my father was having some health issues back then. My brother and I both worked there kind of in the summers and part-time. Came home after my sophomore year, had joined a band when I was at App and played some music, started learning that lifestyle and had fun with that. But we came home to kind of help run our business when my father was going through some stuff. Plan was to go back to school, but life took over, ended up continuing to run this business, and then joined my brother's band. He was a little more serious musician, and played with him for about a year and toured and did some things like that, and then continued to just run our family business. And that was back in the days before, internet and mail order and direct service and the big boxes. They were just kind of coming into view, and so we ran it for about 20 years until we finally had to kind of throw in the towel. But it was a good run, and then that kind of led me into nonprofit work after that. So.
Right. Yeah. Whenever you run a family business, a lot of times it is a nonprofit. Yeah.
Nonprofit for my father, plenty of times for sure. He was a good man. So.
How weird is it that you are now in a situation helping students that for some reason have had to leave their plan and then help them come back and get what they want?
Well, I've had the discussion with my wife when this opportunity first came about, the street school. It was ironic, I think, me getting into, one, education, and then working with students that consider at risk. I mean, there's different monikers, but just students that have struggled, just finding their way, not finding where they're comfortable, and needing a different environment. And it is kind of interesting how I wound up working with this population.
So I don't know if you knew this about me, because I'll tell you this, because then you're going to really. So we had K&S newsstands.
I did not know that.
I knew that. I mentioned the other one to you. That was
right.
Because that guy came to my family and said, "Hey, we want to have a store similar to that," because we were the wholesale distributorship to the retail.
Okay.
So I ran the K&S news for my family. And that's why I said family business, et cetera, and stuff like that.
I used to buy skateboard magazines there. So.
And I'm still waiting for Thruway to tell me that they're bringing a Borders in next to me. So, it's one of those things of where exactly what you've talked about is you saw the writing on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
So I left and got into other things and then ended up in real estate. My brother and my other brother's widow, they kind of kept the stores and closed them as well too when the writings got on the wall. Because a lot of people don't even know what a newsstand is nowadays.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of crazy. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I knew that would be your surprise. It just kind of it is nuts how you go through this and everyone's like, oh, you ought to bring that back. No, I'm fine. We don't need to bring it back.
Well, like you said, just the dynamics of a family business. I mean, they're tough enough, but. I really look back with nothing but fond memories, other than the fact that my father getting ill and that sort of thing. But it was just, I wouldn't trade that time. I mean, we had a good run and a good base of customers that really supported what we did, and we kind of the business morphed into some different things. We kind of found our niche with fly fishing and trading old shotguns and. Hunting and camping wear, and just kind of got into some oddball stuff, and it was good for a while.
But it is interesting because I remember going in there when it took me a second to figure out where it was, but then immediately when I said that, and so the name of the store again was for everybody.
It was originally Trivett's Auto Supply on 6, where we are now, and then we changed it to Trivett's Sporting Goods.
Right.
So, and Trivett's because that was the name that people had known. When they were on 6th Street. So it was kind of like a Western Auto type store back then.
Right. And you're over near where the S&S Shoes area was on Jonestown.
Yep. Ended up out there. Yeah, we had a nice run downtown, 6th Street, and then 2nd and Broad for a little while, and then ended up out in the suburbs.
Okay. So you've done this, and now are you married at this time and all this kind of stuff? Or?
Married in '86, so just when we came right out of school.
Right.
Like I said, met my wife at App. She worked for Piedmont, and now what's Piedmont Advantage Credit Union. It used to be Piedmont, PACU. Used to be Piedmont Airlines.
Right.
Worked for them for nearly 25 years, and has been with Novant in finance for the last decade.
Okay.
She's been the one that's kind of held down the steady job with benefits to keep our family rolling while I try to go out and save the world, I guess, with some of these nonprofit ventures. So yeah, I'm blessed. This is 36 years marriage and best friend, and wouldn't change it for the world. So
you realize you just told me that I've been out of high school now for 36 years. So that really thanks for that.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no. I think the interview's done. No, I just like I graduated in '86. Holy cow, that's
40 for me next year.
All right.
40 years.
Yeah. And you still feel. I mean, I still have the same sense of humor that I had when I was 12, according to my wife. But no, I mean it's crazy, isn't it?
It is.
So on school-wise, you talked about Parkland. So I was a Clemens kid. Mm-hmm. So I started out at Clemens Elementary, right, which is now a furniture place.
Right.
Then we went to Brown. Okay?
Wow. Yeah.
So Brown, burned to the ground.
Yeah.
Then back to Southwest, where we were talking with Megan about, where they have the food pantry and stuff. And I went out. It's not a 7th and 8th grade school anymore. It's a K through, what, 4th or 5th?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so then to McGinnis, which has changed.
Yeah.
So it's people don't, when I can't remember who it was, I guess I was talking with Stan Elrod, and we were talking about the different ways that the schools have changed.
Yeah.
And so.
I mean, I love that. I was right in the heart of, the busing situation, and especially growing up in town. So I went to Latham, which is Diggs Latham now.
Yep.
Went from Latham to Diggs.
Right.
From Diggs to Griffith.
Right.
For junior high school.
Right.
And then to Anderson for high school, and then Parkland for senior high.
Right.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
Anderson was probably my favorite school. That was kind of the peak of my athletic performance back then, like 9th, 10th grade. Played basketball. I could actually jump, and I wouldn't change that for the world. I loved moving to different schools. And
the greatest thing that came out of my my athletic was that I was sitting there at McGinnis, and I showed up the first week of practices, and I was the starting goalkeeper. After all the other players showed up, I was third string on the JV. Yeah. So my biggest accomplishment was I got to meet Cameron Kent one day, and we were talking, and so we've become friends since then. So that's about it.
Yeah.
And then I was a mascot for a year and got a letter in cheerleading, but other than that,
Hey, that's okay.
no, I had a ball doing it. So,
I bet.
I was
I
the only
bet.
guy on an all-girls squad. That was great. No, it is interesting how things have changed.
Oh yeah.
And when you and I were in school, what we're sitting in today didn't exist, did it?
Right. Yeah.
Nowhere near that.
I mean, and that's I think maybe students that struggled back then, and really just within the last 20 years, you struggled.
Right.
You just kind of flew below the radar a lot of times, or just tried to do what you could to get by, and
just pass along.
Yeah,
right?
And it's not speaking disparagingly about the public school
We're
system
talking about the past,
by any
too.
means. Yeah, exactly. It just when you have 1,200, 1,500 kids in a school and 35 plus to a class. I mean, it was tough back then, and it still is now in those environments. Right. I mean, my hat's off to all the public school teaching staff and admin staff that try to do a pretty tough job. But that's kind of where the street school came in,
And I mean, I don't know much about the street school. I know one thing, and that is that you have a former career center educator that's one of your part-time faculty.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's big stuff.
It is big stuff, yeah.
And so, and we'll talk more about that
Sure.
and all that stuff, but I just, I want to finish up with you, and that's so you the writing's on the wall, it's time to get out of the family business. What happens next?
From there, we mentioned Bocock Stroud.
Yeah.
I went to Bocock Stroud, kind of picked up where my father left off, I guess.
Over off Deacon Boulevard?
Went to Deacon Boulevard because 4th Street was
Yeah.
no longer around. And worked at Team Division there and sold uniforms and equipment and all that for about 3 years, I guess, with Mike Wilson and Pete Wilson, those Bocock guys, and had a blast. Loved that. And then an opportunity came about with Goodwill Industries.
Right.
and I was worked with adults with developmental disabilities back when that was a little bit more of the focus of Goodwill back in those days, and managed about 60 individuals doing sifting through donations and coaching, the job coaching, things like that. And that was just kind of my introduction into the nonprofit, the real nonprofit world, and I liked that. I enjoyed it. Was there for about 4 years, and then started kind of hopping around to different nonprofits, just working with different populations to really kind of see where I fit in. I went from there to the Winston Salem Rescue Mission, and worked with homeless population. Addicted individuals, mostly men that served by the rescue mission, which was a ministry as well. So that was kind of my first taste of that side of it, and enjoyed that. Went from there to crisis control ministry and headed up development for them for about 4 years. Came back to the rescue mission, headed up development for that organization again. So all total, I was at the rescue mission about 8 years. And then an opportunity came about in Davidson County, a place called the Workshop of Davidson, kind of going full circle with the folks I worked with at Goodwill. These were adults with developmental disabilities, physical disabilities, teaching job skills and life skills. Had about 90 individuals that worked with there, and a full staff. I was the executive director there for about 7 years. Wow. And enjoyed that. It was my wife and I, we live in Midway, so we're Davidson County residents, even though I grew up here, and loved that. I really did. But when this opportunity at the street school came about, and just the fact that it's located on 6th Street, I mean, all these emotions came flooding back, like, this is where I belong. This is where I grew up. And so submitted an application, didn't really think much of it. The previous director, who was the founder, David Morgan, I had met him 14, 15 years prior when I was at the rescue mission. Sold him a van. I used to run kind of a used car lot at the rescue mission, and sold him a van for what was then started the street school. He had one graduate that first year, and so yeah, it just that sent an application resume, and long story short, they went through a process, and I think it was just kind of meant to be to come back to Winston and downtown and working with this population. It was my first opportunity to work with mostly teen population. Like I say, throw around that moniker, at risk. It's just students that just haven't found success in the public schools for numerous reasons. And thought it was a good challenge, and now I'm in my 5th year of doing this.
All right. Well, I want to talk more about this.
Okay.
All right. And we're going to take a break, and of course, people say, well, where is Midway? Well, it's midway between Winston and Lexington.
You are correct.
We'll be right back with more Camel City Chat. Welcome back. I'm here with Mike Foster, and we're talking about him and downtown Winston and your ties to things. And, you know, I always ask this question later in the show, but before we get into what you do here, did you ever think that you would be comfortable walking to your car at 5 o'clock in downtown Winston, or that your wife might meet you for dinner in downtown Winston, your daughter live in I mean, it's crazy where it's come from when you and I were kids.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, like I said, the business that we ran was on 6th Street, and back then, there were really, all the businesses had started leaving downtown.
Right.
And pretty much what you were left with were some apartments above what used to be businesses, and low income stuff, and we got to know all of the homeless population back in those days, and to think now that, like you said, I work here, I run downtown, I'm so completely comfortable downtown, and I think the fact that I've worked in this area for so long, and I have a healthy respect, I try to make smart choices about where you are, when you are, but like I said, I mean, our daughter lives downtown and loves it, and I think about that sometimes and think, wow, that is pretty amazing.
You know, I think the biggest thing that, and I think this ties into your work, is everyone deserves kindness.
Right.
And, you know, with the kids and adults that you deal with, whoever you pass on the street, a smile saves a lot of things from ever going wrong.
Well, I learned so much from my father, but back when we had our business, especially when it was on 6th Street, we sold a lot of clothing, winter clothing, you know, jackets and boots and warm socks, that sort of thing. There was not a week that went by that I saw him give someone a jacket or give them a pair of socks. We didn't have the money to do that. It was a small business. We were kind of struggling to make it work. And, you know, there were gentlemen that lived across the street that would come stumbling in, you know, in the morning or late in the day and fall, and, you know, I would see him go out and help them up the steps to their apartment. And so I started doing that. Right. And I was like, well, that's just what you're supposed to do, you know, and I never really questioned it. And because he never did it, he never felt like he was on stage, you know, it was just, this is immediately, okay, if someone's in need or someone, like I said, just someone needs a smile or whatever it is, it's just what you do, you know.
But it has been very interesting to me with, you know, we had Emily from the church that's moving into the church down here on, and you know, they're really, you know, when we were looking at houses, she was one of my clients, we were looking at houses, and we were downtown, and it's like 5 people walked by and she knew every single person.
Right.
And, you know, for me, the last time, I interviewed Catherine Perry next door. So you got Leadership Winston-Salem next door, and then
have Authoring Actions. And Dress for Success.
Right, thank you, because I couldn't remember I knew Dress for Success, but I couldn't remember Authoring Actions. And then you come over here and we've got the Street School. And then next to us here, we've got, Theater Alliance now? Yeah, which building's beautiful. Yeah. And you know, they tore down the car wash place, but they're doing some renovations to the old church that Augsburg owns, and bringing some things in there and stuff. And it's so nice that people are continuing to invest in this area. Oh yeah. And you know, so your greatest asset is the kids, so we're investing in them.
There you go. That's right.
Take me back. How did Street School get started?
Well, David Morgan, the founder, he modeled the Street School after the Denver Street School, Denver, Colorado. He was out there. He was in pastoral care. That was kind of his background. And when he came to Winston, saw that, you know, we had just the same problem as far as high school dropout rate in Forsyth County was pretty big, and it's always hovers around 400, 450 students each year that drop out of high school in Forsyth County. And so he felt like there was a need. Started the Street School on the south side of town, and ended up in Rosemont Baptist Church. Like I said, had first one graduate in 2004, and it's steadily increased since then. But it was really, he knew that the organization was not going to be part of the public school system, being a ministry kind of at heart, but we could probably partner with the public school system and, so to speak, pick up the pieces, make sure that students didn't fall through the cracks. So he developed that rapport with public school officials really quick, and they came to respect what the Street School was about, and so that's where most of our referrals have come from. As a public school guidance counselor or a principal that calls and says, you know, hey, I have a student here that is just really struggling. You know, we're not quite sure. We don't want to lose them. We don't want them to completely give up on school. Can we send them your way and see if you can give it a try? And that's kind of how the process works.
It is interesting when you come into a situation like that. It seems sometimes that people feel threatened or feel that you're trying to take away from them. But once they realize that there's kindness in your heart, they're your best advocates.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's I get that question a lot of times. Is how is that partnership with the public school system? And we love, I think we're blessed with really good schools in our community that do yeoman's work. I mean, it's tough work what they do. But I think they just, they appreciate the fact that we've kind of flown below the radar for many, many years. Marketing, PR, that sort of thing was not necessarily David's forte. And so when I came on board 5 years ago, that was one thing that we wanted to change, was to really try to give the street school a facelift, make it something that, or a destination that our students were proud of, not somewhere like they feel like they were being banished to.
And that was actually going to be a question. I mean, it is truly, you now have students that are choosing to come here because they don't want to be in the larger environment due to medical or emotional safety reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Who would have ever thought that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I think we have no court-mandated situations right now. In the early days, there were some students that were required to come here.
Right.
And we don't have any of that. All of our students right now, and currently, like I said, we're at 67 on our high school roster. We have about 25 on the waiting list. We have an adult program that we run as well. It's about 37 in that. They come here of their own choosing. And like you said, many of them, life would probably be easier for them in the short term to not have to fool with school. You know, why do I need to go back and get my high school diploma? I'm working 2 or 3 jobs right now to make ends meet. I have a child. Transportation's tough. I have to, jump on public transit and make 2 stops to get to the school. Why do I want to do that?
Did not even think about that. That is true. You have to be, the location here is even key.
Yeah.
Because you're walking distance from the bus station.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's
Besides
huge.
there being a stop close by too.
Oh,
right?
yeah. And that's huge. I mean, right now, and this has been consistent over the years, but it's close to 90% of our students live at or below the poverty level for Forsyth County.
Right.
75 to 80% come from a broken home, one parent or guardian in the picture, and so I mean they have plenty of barriers and challenges already facing them every day just to get up and go about their day. So to expect them to learn to like school again, learn it, appreciate learning what it's about. Our work's cut out for us a lot of times, but when they finally buy into what the street school culture is, and just this small kind of family loving atmosphere, we're trying to give them a clean slate, a second chance, to work with, then we have success. I mean, we have really good success numbers that, kids moving on that more than likely would never have graduated high school if it weren't for coming here.
So can we take you as an example, and instead of Appalachian, you're in high school?
Right.
All right, so your dad is ill, you've had to quit high school to go work in the family business, and now how many years later is it that you decide that you want to get your GED? But wait, you didn't say GED, you said a high school diploma.
Correct.
So I'm 18 now, I'm working at the family business, but I realize that I need my high school diploma. What do you do? Why are we here then? Explain that.
Now, that's a good analogy. And we see that a lot.
Okay.
And we take there's a lot of different factors that come into play. Okay, so where were you in high school last?
Right.
How many credits did you accrue while you were there? So myself, or if we have a prospective student that comes to the door today and says, okay, I was last in school last year at such and such high school, I have 10 credits. In public schools here in Forsyth County, 24 is required to graduate.
I didn't even know I had credits when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I just showed up that day.
You did.
All right, yeah, okay, so that's kind of scary. I knew in college,
you were
buddy,
earning
I had
something.
slide rule and abacus on that stuff.
That's right.
One more class.
But yeah, 24 credits required in Forsyth County public schools. 22 are required for the street school, being an accredited private school.
Right.
So we have a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of an incentive to come here and finish up. So we meet with that student and say, okay, you need 12 credits to graduate, earn your diploma.
And what's a credit?
A credit is based on the core curriculum,
Right.
whether it's English
So-
1, 2, 3,
So
all the basic.
English 1 is 1 credit.
Correct.
So you're telling me I have 12 classes left.
Correct.
How long
And-
does it take me to graduate?
Well, if we're looking at that scenario, someone that has maybe a dozen credits to go, they could probably finish up with us in a year and a half. So if someone's coming straight from middle school, which we've seen here a lot
Right.
in the last year or two, if they buckle down, do it right, maybe jump into some of our summer opportunities, they can finish their high school in 3 years if they want. So it's
So
an
I leave
incentive.
in 8th grade and due to something, pregnancy, whatever,
Right.
whatever that is, and then all of a sudden I want to go back and get it, buckling down and stuff like that. Now, do you do night classes? Some or no?
We
You
don't.
I didn't think so.
I briefly mentioned summer. We started a couple years ago doing some summer activities for credit, and we did that primarily just so we could stay in touch with students.
Right.
Summertime, idle time is not a good time for a lot of teenagers, especially the population that we serve.
Right.
There are plenty of times in the last 5 years that I watch the news in the morning and pray that I don't recognize a name. And,
Right.
So summertime was an opportunity for us to do something and at least kind of keep kids coming in the door,
Right.
if not for just a couple days a week. So,
Right.
so yeah, we do offer that at least.
And so what am I, okay, so I've come in here and there's an application process, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, or I'm either referred here or I read about it online. I go to the website, which is,
WSStreetschool.org.
okay. So I go there and I can learn more about getting involved and coming here. So I'm here, I get in, and then what happens? You have a guidance counselor.
We do.
I met her.
We do.
Right.
Which is a key position for
Yeah.
us. Just in backing up to that process a little bit too, it's basic application. Prospective student fills that out, and we hope that they have a parent, guardian, family structure of some sort that will come in with them for their initial interview, and that's 30-minute process and just an assessment. Why do you want to come to the street school? We ask for a one-page essay for them to complete to tell us why they feel they need to be at the street school, and then from there, that's when our work begins. We go down social media rabbit holes, checking the student out, prospective student out. We do all of the work we can, talking with their previous school, with guidance counselor. We obtain their transcripts, so we see what we're working with. But then after all of that's done and we see, okay, yeah, there's some red flags here, but that's what we're about,
Right.
is giving a second chance. And we'll then meet again with the student and say, okay, here we are, we have this. There's still gang activity going on because we saw, this happened 2 years ago.
Right.
Or, explain this instance that you had with a teacher at such and such school. And we'll get all of that out in the open. And because one, safety is paramount. We want to make sure that all of our students, our staff, feel that they're safe. And then two, I mentioned earlier, just kind of that street school culture. We want to know that they are buying into it, that they'll give it a real shot, be accountable, come here, put in the work each day. But then after it's all said and done, that's when we tell them, okay, now it's a clean slate. Yes, all this happened in the past, but for us, we've just met you. And so we want this to work. We feel like if it doesn't work, that we've failed you. So our goal now is to make sure that you not only graduate, earn your diploma, but that you have a game plan after. So.
You have much more cheers than cries, don't you?
Oh yeah. I mean, they're tough days,
Yeah.
And kids that will, push the envelope and try as much as they can. But it's interesting to see kind of that transformation throughout the year. And sometimes there may be suspensions, if kids are just not quite getting it. But once they do, then they kind of become almost the authority figure for some other students in the program. It's like, no, hang on, don't mess this up. We have something good here working at the street school, and really then they kind of become each other's cheerleaders. There's, you don't have to worry about clicks and am I wearing the right shoe. Then they really are just kind of pulling for each other.
Do you remember in college when you discovered that you could go talk to a professor and ask about questions and how big of a deal that was to you?
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
And
I mean, nowadays in high school, I mean, some of the things that I hear kids say to teachers and stuff like that, I mean,
oh yeah,
holy cow.
yeah.
And I just got to ask, was that the teacher's lounge that I walked into?
Oh, that's
Not
our
really?
principal's office
Okay, but
slash teacher's lounge.
Because see, I won't go in teacher's lounge. Like if I'm in like high school or whatever, I'll stop at the door because I just don't feel comfortable doing it. That's their sanctum, whatever.
Right.
But you know, since my friend was in there, I was talking to her, and then I realized just now, I'm like, oh my god, I might have just gone in a teacher's lounge. Because you know that's the way we were raised.
Right.
And so, you know, I've heard horror stories of things that have happened, and you know. You said it early on that just blew me away, and that is that that everyone that is, here right now is here because they chose to be here.
Yeah.
Right. Where you do have occasionally where someone is required to be here, but yeah. And the other thing that you mentioned that I don't think a lot of people know about, and I've had the honor of several friends that have worked in this task forces. There's a lot of gangs in Winston.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of gang activity in Winston.
Well, and I mentioned to you earlier the logo, and I think you took a picture of our logo in the hall. Last summer, we submitted a grant to the Winston-Salem Foundation.
Hold it. We're going to be right back. I knew that was you were going to go down that path. That's a big one. I really want to talk about it.
It is a big one.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back more about the street school and hear about this logo and how now we're going to start to talk about not only that. I want to talk a little bit more about the students, but then I want to talk about how people can get involved and how they can help out. So we'll be right back with more Camel City Chat. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. I'm here with Mike Foster, and we've been talking about the Winston-Salem Street School, reminiscing about traveling all over town to go to school ourselves. And you know, in the earlier scenario, there was you quit, let's say, high school to come to go work in the family business, but then have decided to get back. Now you also have students that have had other issues that run the gamut. We don't need to really go there with it, I'm sure, but why do I even care? Why do I want my degree?
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. And like we said,
that's why I asked it.
Yeah. Like we said, I mean, in many cases for some of these students, it would just be easier not to jump through the hoops to make it work. But if we get the opportunity to meet with them and explain why they need it, in a lot of cases, most of our students they're working part-time jobs and hustling to help make ends meet. We have a number of young moms in the program that have a child and they suddenly have to grow up, and so they quickly realize without a high school diploma, your earning potential is pretty nil, and so. We have some cases of students that will come back to us. It's rare that we have students that come into our program and leave. Most of them stay with us once they buy into it, but occasionally we'll have some students that says, yeah, you were right, Mr. Mike. I need that diploma if I'm going to do anything after this. And so a couple things that we've done in the last 2 years, we started a dual enrollment program with Forsyth Tech, which is huge for us. We know that most of our students are going to be more on a VOTEC kind of route. And so we celebrate that. I mean, that's a workforce that needs to be filled,
now,
Sure.
If you think about it now, would you do a 4-year degree, or would you go to Forsyth Tech and get plumbing, electrical, or HVAC?
Oh yeah.
Print money.
Welding, I mean, you name it.
Yeah, welding. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I mean, buddy of mine, his kid. I mean, the starting at welding is like $40 or $50 an hour.
Sure. Oh yeah. And we've tried to impress that on the students now. And so each year, with this dual enrollment program, if students can start taking some classes with Forsyth Tech while they're still with us, everything's completely free. It's paid for when they transition into Forsyth Tech. And so we really push that. And we've had 6, 7, 8 students each year out of these graduating classes that have taken advantage of it.
Right.
And not to say that we haven't had a couple students that have gone on to 4-year schools as
Right.
well,
Right.
and done well. But yeah, I mean, just impressing on them how important it is, seeing the big picture. We use that term so much. You know, when you're 15, 16, 17, you see to pretty much right here and what's going on, and especially now with social media and getting into, you know, getting drawn into all that world and having beef with somebody over this and that. And so, yeah, we do a lot of focus on just life skills, career prep, basic money management, just things that are going to help students move forward from here.
But aren't you? And I'm not knocking public school. I'm asking this in a legit. But are they teaching that in public school, basic money management?
To a certain degree, I think
I think home ec should be back.
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I think we take it to the next level, kind of where it needs to be. We have a good partnership with Piedmont Federal here in town, and they come and do a financial literacy program with our students, which is great. Yeah. We have an investing group that comes on Fridays and has kind of handpicked, or students that wanted to be involved in an investing club. Right. And they didn't know what it entailed, but had about a dozen students that did it. They were given $100 at the beginning of the school year, and said, "We're going to invest this, and this is your club. We're going to see what this does throughout the year," and just like I said, basic life skills, just 101. You know, I mean, why do I need a credit card? Why do I not need a credit card? What's a checkbook, and what does that mean? How do I pay bills? How do I get a resume put together? You name it. I mean, a lot of our focus is on that as far as getting kids ready for life after here. So.
Well, I would think that this is a feel good. I mean, you know, Leadership Winston-Salem's right next door. Catherine, can you send some people over? I mean, it's you're changing a life immediately.
Oh yeah.
So you had started down the path of the logo, and so I want to talk about that because this is really cool, and I also want to talk about, you know, how do we get people involved? How do people help out?
Yeah. Well, yeah, talking about the branding itself of the street school. Like I said, prior to 5 years ago or so, we kind of did our thing. Right. There was a limited number of folks that knew about us and knew what we did. And when I came on board, my background then had been a little bit more marketing and branding and PR. And so I really took that and ran with it. Our board of directors was fully behind it. Last year, wrote a grant to the Winston Foundation asking for help with our website. We just needed to upgrade our website. Talking with them, they said, yeah, it's a great idea. Why don't we consider maybe rebranding the street school? At the time, we didn't really see anything wrong with what we looked like. It was a very
amazing once your eyes are open.
I know, it really is. Yeah, it's good to have fresh eyes on you, and caring eyes too. I mean, people that really believe in what you do. And so it was pretty much a nondescript WSSS type logo, but our colors were red and black, and nothing wrong with that. But you know, there was we started diving into it, and just one, the literal meaning of those colors, and then two, red is not a good and blue as well, not a good color when it comes to gang affiliations. And so we made the decision then, let's go with this and see what we can do to come up with something new. And so we got connected to give these guys a plug too, not that they need it, but Airtight here in town. Andy Tennille and Brian Ledbetter and those guys, which I'd known them for years, but and so we got with them and said, you know, this is kind of what we're looking for. And they came up with the look that's now the street school, and the colors are green. It's actually called traffic green, which is kind of cool, you know, the street connotation. But it was just really what green meant as far as just progress and moving forward and rejuvenation and that sort of thing. And so the real test for us was, you know, well, if we put that on a T-shirt or a hoodie or a cap, would our students wear it? Would they be proud of wearing it? And so we kind of did a little test run last year, and they really dug it. I mean, they liked it, and they thought, well, it's cool that we actually have an emblem now
Right.
that you can kind of designate as the street schools. And so, I mean, I see our students out and about away from here now wearing street school gear, and that tells me, one, that they're proud of the street school.
Right.
Where in the past, I don't think they would have done that. I don't think they really wanted to advertise that I'm a street school student.
No, it is interesting because you and I talked about this as we were walking around the hallways. This, you know, you wouldn't be here if he hadn't founded it,
Right,
and you wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for everyone before you.
right,
But with the help of your staff, you all have made this into a place that is respected and liked and known. And I think you can tell that. If you don't know that, I can tell you how you can tell that.
right.
How many people do you have in the school right now?
Right now there's 67.
How many people are on the waiting list to get into the school right now?
25.
Yeah. That's an indicator right there, right?
It is.
And that's just teen students, correct? You also have adult
Correct.
students? How many adult students you have?
We have an adult program that jumped last year also. We typically had around 15 to 20 in that program, which is housed in, you mentioned WSJS, they're in the basement of the old station building,
Okay.
thanks to our friends at St.
St.
Paul's
Paul's,
Episcopal, who graciously gave us that space.
Right.
But yeah, we went from 15 or 20 to now 37 on that roster.
And is there a waiting list there?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah. So I mean, it's.
I'm being a smart aleck here. Can you see that?
But you're right. I mean,
what's that say?
people want to get into this program
You
because
got caring teachers,
Exactly.
phenomenal staff. I mean, everyone.
Yeah.
Are you okay? What are you doing? Of course, you didn't have time to come out and see me immediately because what you're putting together. I mean, golly, come on. But no, seriously. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you were doing something, and I'm being facetious there. I was early, and like 4 people were like, "Is everything okay?" I think he's around the corner. And so, it's all about the message coming from the top.
right.
So you work for a board of directors, they care. All right, you care, your staff cares. Every student that's in here, how many did you have graduate last year?
At 27 graduates.
27,
Yeah.
right. I mean, it's got to be pretty good to leave work every day and know that you're changing that many lives.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and like you see, you hit the nail on the head. It's a team for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
And the makeup of the faculty, the staff here is really unique. I mean, it's a combination of older public school teachers maybe that have since retired and just believe in our mission and want to be a part of it, and some younger folks that kind of want to be a part of something where they feel like they're making a difference.
Right.
And because we don't, we can't pay great salaries and that sort of thing. We're still a small organization, but we have grown a lot, and we're serving record numbers, and we are blessed to have a good base of donor support. Well, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, we don't receive any state or federal funding.
Okay.
And that kind of goes back to the heart of being a ministry. There's some red tape and hoops there that we don't jump through.
So you're helped out by St. Paul's.
We have a broad base
Right.
of church support,
Right,
all
sitting there.
denominations. Yeah, all denominations. Really good donor base of just individuals that we've built up over years
Right.
that support what we do. Businesses, civic clubs, and I write a number of grants throughout the year. Cape B. Reynolds Charitable Trust came on board last year as a pretty major supporter, which for us was a really big deal. They're one of the largest private foundations in the state, and we had some tough inroads trying to get in with them and getting them to believe in the program here. Last year they finally said, you're serving the exact same population that we're trying to serve,
Right.
and you're the boots on the ground. You're the ones that are doing it, and so they came behind us and supported us with a good couple-year grant. But
And the only reason why I mentioned those two is one, we talked about St. Paul's and that, and the other is that we've got these centenary. So we're filming this now. You're going to air 2 Wednesdays from now. Okay, we're not
Right.
doing a show this Wednesday because it's Thanksgiving.
Right.
Then Brad Fisher, who is the AD at Reynolds High,
Yep.
will be on. Then you. So you've got green bags in the office right now. These are for the kids to take home over the Thanksgiving holiday for food?
Yes, we, Centenary United Methodist Church, we have a couple volunteers that stepped up several years ago and took this on as their mission. This is kind of what they do for their mission work. And they stock a food pantry. It's kind of a student choice food pantry for us here in the school. And we're really intentional with that. We're very careful in how we do that. We tried it in the early days with, okay, here's a bag of food that you can take home, and we would put them out on tables. There's a stigma attached to that.
It's kind of a snack bar in the sense of things. Hey, if you want to grab something else, take.
It's become that. It has. I think early on, I don't know if I'll stick that and try to hide it in my backpack on the way out. Just don't want other kids to see. So now you're right. It has become almost a snack bar where they can just go in and get what they need. With these bags, what Centenary did, and this just shows you how caring those folks are. They said, we know you're going to be gone for several days. Yeah. Your kids aren't going to have lunch at school for 3 days this week and the weekend. Can we put together some take-home bags for a few? And so we kind of put the word out. We had a number of students that said, yeah, that would really help my family out. So we've kind of done it under the radar, and those students will take these bags with them tomorrow when they leave and have something to eat over the week.
And interesting to me is I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you about it, and then all of a sudden a volunteer walks up, finds out that I know her through our kids, but also she helped out my buddy Justin Markell over at Southwest and when he was the assistant principal over there. So there's a lot of intertwined stuff there.
A lot of caring people in this community in general. And majority of them, it seems, but we're blessed in this area for sure.
Well, I'm looking here. Okay, I'm seeing a couple things. So I get to look at the desk here. And so I'm going to get this out here and talk about this, okay? So before we go, I want to talk about, Airtight, great guys.
Yeah, they are. They're super.
All right, and love their T-shirts and stuff like that that they have downstairs. Okay, so I wanted to mention that. Volunteers. How do I volunteer for the street school, and what do you want me to volunteer for? What do people do?
Real easy, and we only exist because of our volunteers. Okay. One, you can go to our website, wsstreetschool.org. There's a volunteer tab and a drop down. You can provide lunches for our students. That's a little bit more of a commitment now that we're serving as many students as we are, but we don't have the resources to provide traditional cafeteria setup type lunch. So businesses, churches, civic groups step forward and they'll bring lunch in. That's a big help for us. Donations, in-kind donations of snacks and things like the folks at Centenary are doing is a big help. But also we utilize tutors, mentors, and folks that just want to be involved in the students' lives. Right now, I think we probably have about a dozen tutors that are working between the high school and the adult program. Obviously, some prior experience is great, but not mandatory. If you can come in and help guide a student through whatever class they're struggling with, then that's a big help. But yeah, we try to bring in volunteers as much as we can. So.
All right, so then I'm not touching this one. Yeah, I try to stay away as far as I can from the IRS one. All right, we got the fire marshal here. So, internships.
Yeah, we right now we have one full-time intern. She is in the Master's of Social Work program at UNC Charlotte. Right. And they got in touch with me back in the summer, asked if we would be interested in letting her do a internship here, and she's been great. because this is kind of an introduction to the population that she's going to be working with. And her focus has been more on the counseling piece of it, which is awesome because we can't get enough caring folks and listening ears from a counseling standpoint. Our students go through a lot of stuff every day, and then you throw on top of that COVID and depression, anxiety, just all the stuff that kids are facing these days. So yeah, she has been a godsend along with some other volunteer counselors.
What about the students in internships? Is there opportunities? Do the students want to if I am here getting my degree and I want to get into cooking or I want to get into whatever or things like that, do you guys do that, or are
Yes.
you looking for businesses to help with that?
We are. I'm glad you mentioned that. Our career prep program, we have one board member, Talisha Roberts, who's with Reynolds American, and she started the career prep program for us. It's mandatory for all of our students that are in their graduating year.
Right.
To take part in that. And so, yes, she tries to set up shadowing opportunities, tours for prospective businesses that are looking to hire.
Right.
And so, yeah, we have a good rapport with a lot of businesses here in town, but always looking to get in on the ground floor with other folks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough. I mean, this has been awesome. I've learned so
Good.
much, and we definitely want to get some more information out for you. So we'll promote you as best we can, and of
Thank
course,
you.
you guys share this with your team so that people can learn more about it. And definitely check you guys out online, which is wsstreetschool.org.
And all social media platforms.
Okay. All right.
We try to stay pretty active there.
Right, and just reach out. They'll consider basically about everything. I mean,
Sure.
food wise,
I mean,
and stuff like
give
that.
us a call if you just want
Yeah.
to come for a tour, you
Yeah.
know, 15, 20-minute tour and see what the program's about. And sometimes that's what leads into getting involved.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my guest was Mike Foster. I want to say thanks to Smitty's Notes for always putting us up once we do a new episode, and we will be back next week with more Camel City Chat. Thanks.